Hi, everyone. Welcome back to God's Whispers, a place where we take the time to pause and reflect on the word of the Lord. Today I'm going to be speaking about the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 2, verses 22 to 28. If your week already feels heavy, this moment in the Gospel is for you. Sometimes faith might feel like one more thing we just have to get right. But Jesus reminds us that today, rest was never meant to be a burden. Let's listen. As Jesus was passing through a field of grain on the Sabbath, his disciples began to make a path while picking the heads of the grain. At this, the Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" He said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he was in need and he and his companions were hungry? How he went into the house of God when Abiathar was high priest and ate the bread of offering that only the priests could lawfully eat and share it with his companions? Then he said to them, 'The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. That is why the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath.'" So, just to kind of give a quick summary of what was happening there, Jesus and the disciples were walking through a grain field on the Sabbath. The disciples were hungry, so they decided to pluck at some of the heads of the grains. It's simple, seems obvious, and very human. But the Pharisees notice this, and they don't notice the hunger or the people, they notice the rule. And in Jesus' time, the Sabbath, which was meant to be a gift, had become surrounded by layers of detailed rules. The original purpose of the Sabbath was to rest, restore, and have trust in God. But over time, these interpretations multiplied, and obedience became more and more about precisely following these rules instead of compassion. So Jesus responds by telling a story from Scripture about David eating the sacred bread when he and his companions were hungry. It wasn't about breaking God's law, it was about honoring it. So then the line that reframes the conversation was, "The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath." In other words, God didn't create rest to burden people. He created it to help sustain them. And then Jesus goes even further by saying, "The Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath." So he's claiming authority to restore its true meaning. So what does that kind of look like for us today? There's schedules, there's expectations, but there's also rest. So Jesus reminds us that God is not impressed by rule keeping that forgets love. He notices hunger, he notices exhaustion, and he notices need. Sabbath is about trust. Trust that we don't have to earn God's love. Trust that stopping doesn't mean failing. Trust that God can work even when we're at rest. So journal prompts that will go along with this passage would be, where has faith started to feel heavy and pressure-filled for me? What does true rest in my life look like right now? And am I following rules out of fear, or am I living from a true relationship with God? And then finally, how might Jesus be inviting me to receive rest instead of striving? I hope that this message resonated with you, and if you feel like a friend could use some encouragement, please feel free to pass it along. And don't forget to subscribe so you can continue to hear God's whispers.